Hello, hello. I've got my coffee and we're going to try things a little differently. Normally, I watch the episode and then I try to I take notes and I try to kind of have my thoughts put into some sort of order for you guys. But I have I have recognized that I am having a little bit of a flare up. I don't know if you guys know, but I have Crohn's disease, and it doesn't show up typically for me. So I have a lot of the outside of the GI tract problems that are associated with it, and some of that comes with like fatigue and brain fog. So I realized that this season of that's my puppy. Um, this season of Love is Blind is causing immediate reactions, and I have all of these thoughts, and then I have a really hard time when I actually get here to make the video. So I decided I'm going to watch the video and then pause and talk to you and recap and share some ideas. It might seem a little more scattered, but it should go with the flow of the episode that we're talking about a little better, and I think it'll help me give you a more genuine and complete reaction because my mind won't be struggling so hard to keep up with what's going on. Also, part of the reason why they are coming out slowly is because they do take a bit more. I really enjoy the human behavior and human nature side of these things, so it does take a little bit more to really pay attention. I wish I could just play it and react in real time with you guys, but I'm pretty sure that Netflix wouldn't let that happen. I don't know. But I would love it because when I'm watching this with my wife, I'm pausing and talking and then unpausing and going. And I think it used to really aggravate her, but now that we're in two different states and she's having to watch it without me, I think she misses it. But anyway, yeah, so that's why this one is going to feel a little maybe disjointed or have a little bit of a different flow to it. And that's because I'm going to be jumping on and off throughout the entire episode. So let's get into it. This is Love is Blind. I might have called it Love Island earlier. Yeah, I'm telling you, my brain, little fuzzy. This is Love is Blind, season 5. Episode 4, let's go. I think that what we just now saw at the end of episode 3 was that Uche basically told Aaliyah that he had dated Lydia before outside of the pods. I freaking knew that there was something happening there. Something was happening there. Ugh. Here we go. Okay, so yeah, episode 4 opens and we are in a situation where Aaliyah had earlier at the end of episode 3 was like, you're so honest and you're so upright, and she's like, all of these things that make him just like the perfect man. Let's throw away the fact that he's a complete red flag the way he treated you, but whatever, let's keep going. So she's saying all these things and you can see him physically visibly he's getting uncomfortable, and then he's like, oh look, I actually dated somebody in the pods outside the world and we recognize each other. And she's like, oh, and it is Lydia. Now, I want to say this. Aaliyah, I like Aaliyah at this point. She is doing something I have waited forever for somebody on reality TV to do, and that is she is recalling. A lot of people seem to be so, and this isn't a judgment on people because I think it's a human nature thing, but seem to be so caught up in the experience that their memories are almost altered during it. So you'll see people get into conflict on these reality shows, and then when they go to recap the conflict, they incorrectly quote it or something like that, or misdirect the problem, and then the person who is being confronted is able to be like, well, that's not what I said, or that's not what, and it gets blurrier and blurrier, and then at the end they're both like, whatever. And you will watch, if you watch these shows later on during well, some places, some programs will play the clip so that we all know that's exactly what happened, but now this person's being gaslit. But other times you'll see them rehash the issue again in the reunion where it's like, well, we all watched it and this is what happened, right? Okay. But Aaliyah is doing a really good job with recall, and she is quick with it. So just like when she confronted him about the things he absolutely did say to her, and he was trying to be like, did I say those things? You did. She is now wait a second. Wait a second. Because when I had issues with you, like when all that happened, Lydia was the first person to come say something to me. She says she sees us as almost the same person. Like all of this stuff. She's like starting to recall it. And she's very upset. And she's upset because not just because of him, but also because Lydia is somebody she has become extremely close to. She sees Lydia as like a sister. She sees Lydia as like the auntie to her kids, like in the future. Like she sees this. Now, nothing's wrong with that. People bond over 1,000 things. You can meet your bestie in the weirdest places, right? So like, yeah, you might have gone into these pods and not wound up with the man, but you wound up with a best friend. And that's fantastic. That's worth its weight in gold. But she is going to, I think, attempt to have a best friend who used to date her man. And I don't see how that's going to be good in this situation, because it's not like y'all are best friends from like 1,000 years ago. You are newly minted. And also because technically, I guess, Lydia could be like, well, I knew him first. Speaking of, let's flash back now to where they get together and they recognize each other in the pods. It's Lydia who first recognizes Uche, and she seems a little offended. Like she's like, you don't know this voice? Come on, boy. And he's like, oh, Lydia, I apologize. The puppy is learning to self-soothe and entertain himself. He's doing a good job, but he is making noise. I apologize. Anyway, so she is like, do you think this is a sign? Like, maybe this is a sign. Maybe we should be going for it. Maybe we should rehash things. And you get the feeling that she was in. And had he been in, it would have gone to the end with him, right? And he says no. And he moves on. And they move on. But one thing he does do that might shed some light on the fact that he's not 100% moved on, because these men just can't let women go, right? Like, I don't want you, but you can't go on, is he drops to Aaliyah's ear, to Aaliyah, I just combined their names, to Aaliyah's ear, that like, he's not so sure about Milton. Now, Milton has been like, I don't want to talk to you guys about it. Like, I'm talking only to my girl about these things. He has said, I'm not 100% sure. And Uche was like, well, maybe you need to not involve other people's emotions. Oh, that was interesting. I remember when it happened, I was thinking like, oh, you're worried about some rando's emotions? No, it wasn't a rando. It was his ex-girlfriend. So basically from the beginning, he's been like, if you're not 100%, get out. Because he doesn't want Milton to get engaged to Lydia, because he's not at a point where he could just be happy for Lydia, even though he passed. It does seem like in this moment that he broke up with her, that he left her, that she wasn't the one for him. And she was a little upset. I think he even says that. So, there's a lot at play. And obviously, Aaliyah is like, I need to also talk to her. I need to get her perspective, and I need to talk to her. And all I can say is, you are a good woman, because at this point, I think I'd be like, this is too new for both of these relationships. Like, if we're already starting on this foot, then we don't need to have this go any further. I don't know. But I am like, oh, I can only see this. This is the part where I believe way back in season 1, when they brought all the couples back together, I was like, oh, and we watched so many horrible scenes where it was like, oh my God, if we could have just walked away, so many things would have been better, right? But we didn't. We mixed them all up. And now we really know what the magic lies, where not only do we mix up the couples, but we bring in all the people who they met over time, right? This would be difficult and like weird for anybody. Like, I've met my wife's ex. I think just one of them. I don't know. But like, and she's met mine. So like, I don't know that it was too incredibly weird for her. She's met 2 of mine. But like from the very beginning, I was like, yo, very open book. Like, this is my ex who I love dearly. We have a cat that's named after him. I love him. Actually, he's no longer with us, like the human on this earth, and I miss him, and I wish that like he could have had a longer, healthy life. But I was like, I love him. He's gonna be around, not any everyday sort of way, but like, whatever. And then also I had an ex that I was like, this is one of my best friends, and I'm going to be completely open with you. I will tell you every detail about the relationship, because I want you to know, like, there's nothing you don't know. You can feel comfortable in it, but this is a friend of mine. So she did meet those. And I met one of hers at like a reunion or something for school. So it's always a little weird. Like, if you were surrounded by people your partner was just now dating while they were dating you, it would be a little strange. But it's even weirder because there's all these, like, we didn't know what each other looked like. And there's a real possibility I would have chosen different if I could have seen you. And that's the whole magic of this reality TV show. Also, I feel like with like The Bachelor, I remember like when it was like the world's biggest shocker you don't want to miss, right? And it wound up being that he was like, yo, I'm leaving you. I'm going back to like this other girl I didn't pick. And ever since then, it's a little more common. So I feel like there's been a bit of like messiness outside and after the pods, and the more of that messiness, the more common it gets. So there's almost like with the original contestants, there was like this like, I'm doing this and I'm seeing it through. But there is now like an air of, I'm doing this. Who knows what's going to happen once I get to meet the other person in person, right? I don't know. It's just a vibe, but let's see where it's going. Yeah, we're going to have a scene with Izzy and Stacey, and Izzy is going to propose, and Stacey comes in her smart woman suit. Yes, girl, I like it. Now, what is a little weird, I don't like her shoes. I'm just going to be honest. They seem almost like the Bratz doll shoes. They're very big. But anyway, that's not neither here nor there. I mean, they go with the outfit, I guess. I don't know. They seem too sparkly. I gotta get over it. Okay. This is a very interesting coupling to me because it does not seem like it's about Stacey at all. Stacey, until this point, has been extremely blank. When he asks her questions, she leaves them very open. Case in point, he says, I just want to get a feel. How are you feeling? What's on your mind? And she's like, I've never really been 100% about anything like this. Which is open to interpretation. That is the sentence she said. Does that mean I've never been until now? Or I've never been including now 100%, right? But I think that Izzy likes it like that because Izzy is a very Izzy-centric person. So this leaves things open to his own interpretation. Like, he can hear what he wants because she's not saying anything definitive. Okay. At some point, he's talking to her and he says, like, I've never been supported the way you support me. I've never been loved the way you love me. I've never been with a girl who feels the way you feel about me. And I'm like, unless a lot happened, and obviously it probably did because this is all editing, but like of what we've seen, she hasn't been any like definitive. She hasn't been like down with like giving any direct answers. So first of all, everything he said, he didn't say, I've never felt like this about a girl. He said, I've never had a girl feel like this about me. He's never said, he says, I've never been as supportive as I have been here. Like as supported as I have been here. It's all about how she is the first to do these things for him and not anything about like how she's the first to elicit these feelings or how he feels for her. It's a very one-sided. And it's easy and it's fun. Well, yeah, she has said nothing definitive. So basically, she just left it so open and such a blank slate that he could just fall in love with himself through Stacey. Excellent. That's going to work out beautifully. No, it's not. So he goes through his whole thing and he proposes and she says yes. In his proposal, he says, I'll always be patient with you. I will always be kind to you. I will always do my best to compromise and hear you out. And I'm wondering, why is this only with her? Like, are we not, as humans, supposed to be being patient, kind, and hearing out the other side all the time? Like, is that not what we strive for? Because I'll tell you something. My wife is amazing, and this is not like me being like, mine's better than yours, but in this case, it kind of is, because one of the things that I absolutely love about her is, and also I'm like, you infuriate me because this is insane. She will give the benefit of the doubt to anybody. She absolutely is always trying to be kind, hear somebody's story, know where they're coming from. It is a gorgeous and beautiful and quite rare situation like to find in the world. And arguably, I will tell you, hands down, she is the better of us. She is the better of us. I have those qualities, but I don't give them out so just openly, and I absolutely strive to be more like her in that situation. And in this situation, it's like, why is this only with her? Like, you should be being a good person, period. I don't understand. But, he's doing his proposal, and that's the best he can come up with, is he'll be nice to her. He'll be patient with her. Okay. Basically, after he gives his whole proposal speech, she is like, ditto. like literally, she says, I feel the same. Which is such an interesting, it's like this. Maybe Stacey just doesn't have words, and so that's how she chooses to do it. Maybe she truly does feel exactly the same in this moment. Or maybe she's playing like a long, quiet game, which is how it's always felt. She's always kind of felt like she was holding back, just kind of seeing where it's going. Like, look, am I agreeing to be on the show? Yes. Am I agreeing to go to Hawaii or wherever they're going to send us? Yes. Am I agreeing to like hang out with you in an apartment? Yes. But what I know I'm not agreeing to is sleeping with you and having to marry you. Neither one of those things are actually required because they can't require it of me. So sure, I'll hang out. I'll see where this goes because you know what? It's worth it. As long as I don't get a terrible, terrible edit, and then maybe even then, it's worth it in social media gold, right? Like the ability to take this and then further my business or further my next excursion into the world. I'm not hating on it. I'm just saying it feels like maybe that could be what's at play. I'm talking to the camera. He's so cute. I am. Thank you. So yeah, it feels like that could be what's happening. I don't really know. In the end, she says yes, and they're just so happy. But she does say like, I've always just been 100% like a loner, and I had given up on relationships because like, kind of like, what's the point? Basically, I don't know. I think that this is going to be weird. First of all, I feel like in his head, he has made it to where he is being worshipped in this relationship, and I don't see that playing out this way. Could be totally wrong. I do think that physically they could look really cute together. They're a pretty good match. I'm not saying they will like each other. I'm saying that if you saw that couple in the gym working out together, it would be like, yeah, makes sense. Why not, right? She takes her happiness to the women's pods. And she's actually, what's really interesting, and maybe this, okay, you're getting like real time thoughts because I'm stopping and coming here, right? So here's the thing. What's interesting about seeing Stacey in the pod, like in the female dorm kind of area of the pods, is that she seems more emotional than she has the entire time we've seen her with Izzy. Even in the like engagement, she did seem to be a little touched by what he was saying, but she walks out and she's just like crying, and she's like expressing, like, which is so it is very bizarre to me. I I feel like she is absolutely playing a longer game with Izzy. She's not giving him all of the emotions. Now, I don't know if that's going to work out well because part of why he picked her was because Johnie was kind of a mess. So she presented this very solid, very secure situation and he went with it. She left it open for interpretation. What's going to happen when he gets to realize she's a real person? Who knows? But she is like kind of in tears. Of course, Johnny's there and she gets a happy for y'all, which is so not happy for them. Like, I can't even. And then immediately Johnie does what she has done. We have seen this, which goes like, girl, you still need growth and stuff, right? Like, this man has set you free. Move on. Now, he didn't really set her free because then he sabotaged her second chance. But she doesn't know this yet. So anyway, but she had already started to be like, if he picks her, they'll be over in a month. If he picks her, that'll be the biggest mistake. In the pod, she told him that. She was like, for me, you'll always be a what if, and I think you'll think the same thing, all this other stuff. Now, she's like, I mean, sure, I didn't get what I wanted, but, like, he told me he has a bad credit score. He told me he just signed a lease somewhere else. Okay. And you're still crying over him. What are you trying to prove? Like, at this point, what are you trying to prove? You were just making yourself look bad. You were making yourself look messy. You're making yourself look like you maybe have not evolved as far as you thought you had. Just saying. Johnie and Chris are going to have a conversation. Now, this is one that we know isn't going to go well. Why do we know it? Because we already saw that the boys were having a conversation, and Izzy just could not keep himself out of it. He doesn't want Johnie, but he does not want her having anybody else love her. Like, it's such a mess, you guys. So he's already said, like, and I actually touched on this in the other video, like, he's already kind of put his 2 cents in, and the guys got together and were like, she told me the opposite. She told me the opposite. And in the other video, I made it very clear that I felt like both were true, and that they were slightly, she wasn't communicating as clearly as she could, and also they were slightly skewing things in their minds, and it all came together to kind of implode. And it would not have if Izzy would have left them alone, which really, you don't want her, so leave her alone. Also, side note, if we all know that things are not going to work out, then, like, who cares? Let them just play out, and then you just get to sit back and go, nah, who could have seen that coming? Just saying. So Chris tells Johnie, no, he's not going to do it. He must be selfish and choose himself. It's interesting when people say stuff like, I've never been selfish and now's the time. Because I'm like, have you really never? Like, first of all, you don't have to say that you've never been selfish and now you're finally being selfish. You just do it. You can just, like, you're not obligated to give anybody a second chance. You're not obligated to give anybody your time or date someone. You're not obligated to, so you don't have to give us an excuse. So I don't understand why we have to get that spiel, because also I don't think it's true. Some of the people, like, you'll see this on reality TV a lot, and some of the people who say stuff like that are the most selfish people, at least in their edits. Anyway, he says it's not going anywhere. She leaves and she's packing because she's going home, because what's the point? Her number 2 has just stolen her chances, and I have to think that they're going to try to circle back to this. Like, it's going to, I'm guessing, and this is purely speculation, that once we all start mingling, because it's so-and-so's birthday and we're all going to get drunk together, why not? That's always a great idea. That there'll be some weird conversations between Izzy and Johnie, and as long as she's still begging, Izzy will be like, I'm happy, I'm good. And then also, there'll be some conversations between Chris and Johnie, and I have a feeling we'll get a go at that. If we don't get together in the pods, I feel like we're getting together somewhere. That's just how I feel. Also, because I did mention that I thought that Izzy and Stacey were a good physical matchup, I also think that Johnie and Chris could be a good one. And I think that, and I think Johnie is a pretty girl. I am not saying that she's not, so please don't hear that. But I think that Izzy would have not been as physically attracted to her as he is to Stacey, as he will be to Stacey, because I have a feeling that, like, Izzy likes Stacey's look, like the blonde hair and the, like, makeup. It's just, they have 2 very different physical vibes. And I have a feeling that Izzy is going to be more attracted to Stacey, which will help them when they all start to mingle with each other, obviously. OMG. Okay, so we just had to sit down. We just had to sit down between Lydia and Aaliyah. It's very hard for me not to call Aaliyah Uche, because in the other, like, dating show, Uche was the female in the relationship, and so in my brain I just attach it to a female, and I apologize. But anyway, Lydia and Aaliyah just sat down, and she's like, he told me, and Lydia's like, oh my god, he told you, and starts to cry, and they're both crying and talking about how much they love each other and all of this. And Lydia looks like she's coming off as a girl's girl, like, you're gonna be fine, everything else. But there's a couple little, like, yeah, I know, it's kind of weird. He basically picked me. The universe has given him a second chance with, like, a girl just like me. He saw me in you and picked you because of me, kind of thing, right? Like, that's how it feels. And then Uche says, and then Aaliyah says, but, like, how emotionally, how do you feel? And that's it. The dam's open. And Lydia starts talking, like, oh, like, oh, God, it's just so crazy. Like, she's dumping it all out there. Obviously, I was hurt, and I really wanted to love him, and we knew each other when we were both vulnerable, and I feel like he thought he was gonna have to take on too much, and, like, I know that his dog loves me, and, like, I buy good toys for his dogs, and his friends like me, and you're gonna like his friends, and he's got an awesome house, and, like, Aaliyah keeps saying, like, I don't want to know too much. I'm, like, trying to, like, she's trying to back out, being like, whoa, and she's going, yeah, Yeah, and her face is falling. And we're getting the clips of her being like, this isn't okay. Yeah, it's not okay. Nobody in the room thinks it's okay except Lydia, who keeps going. And she is going and going and going and just talking about how, like, then she says that in the pod, they both decided they would start from zero. But then he felt like it might ruin the experiment. But I don't remember him saying that. In that scene that they showed us, from the get, when he realized he knew who she was, he kept going, no, it'll ruin the experiment. No, it'll ruin the experiment. And I don't actually think that Uche was saying it will ruin the experiment. I think he was saying, I already broke up with you. I don't want to revisit it. I don't want to come back around. That's not why I'm here, right? And he was using like the Love is Blind experiment to like, he doesn't want to. But apparently he wanted to 3 months ago in January because Lydia drops the bomb that last time they saw each other was 3 months ago and they banged. I don't know. I understand that you're not technically cheating at that point, but you sure as F weren't honest. And for a man who only a few episodes shredded Aaliyah for a mistake she made in a relationship that wasn't even yours 2 years ago. 2 years ago, when you kept saying that 2 years is not that long. 2 years is not that long. 2 years is not that long. I mean, it was just 2 years. 2 years is not that long. Well, 3 months is a whole lot less, my friend. A whole lot less than 2 years. And this is going to be disgusting. And at this point, I feel like there's no way in hell's green earth, that doesn't make any sense, hell's hot oven, that, oh, it's supposed to be God's green earth, and I made it hell. That's probably because we've been in a heat dome, and it feels like that down here. But anyway, actually, it's beautiful now. God, we're so off course. Okay. There's no way that Milton's getting a fair shake now. It almost kind of feels like Lydia just wants to stay in this so she can see Uche and maybe take a run at it. And all I'm going to say again is, girl, y'all, your friendship does not go back that far. First of all, this chick had inside information on the guy you were dating and knew how to talk to you about him. So the relationship you built isn't even actual or like authentic. It comes from a place like she had an upper hand. Just saying. Y'all built this friendship, and this is her within the beginning of it, like talking about your man and his friends and his dog and And at one point she says like his dog Kobe, and she's like, yeah, I had a dog named Kobe. And instead of being like, wow, that's amazing, she just keeps talking over her. She does not care about Aaliyah in this situation. She's so grateful she can now like dump it all onto her and show her what a girlfriend she was to Uche and like how serious they were, and she couldn't wait to tell her that they banged 3 months ago. I'm just saying. This is not your friend. You are not going to be friends. You're not raising your kids calling her auntie. Move on, even if you want to give a go to the man, which I don't necessarily put my stamp of approval on, but I'm like, whatever. Things can surprise us, I guess. But like, this chick, not your friend. This girl is not your friend. I'm anxious about what's coming next for us in this situation. And I feel bad for Milton because you are not getting a fair shake at all. I'm not even done with the scene. I'm not even done with the scene because I am outraged. Fucking run, girl. Run, okay? She circles back, Aaliyah, to talk to Uche in the pods. And she's like, yo, did you, like, I'm kind of effed up over this because you said, like, XYZ. And she said y'all were considering starting from ground zero. Now, this is a lie. I don't believe it. We kind of saw them meet each other in the pod. He was very clearly not into it. He says that's not exactly what happened, which is so vague. Bro, just tell her that's not what happened. Which he does once she kind of like gets more into it. He's like, no, I don't have feelings for her. I don't have feelings for her. If I wanted her, I could have her, is basically what he says, which is true as far as everything we've seen. Okay? Now, this is where this all goes very left, right? She says, this is hard because in real life, I would never date a friend's ex and I would never befriend your ex. And which, okay, first of all, it's like, okay, that's fair. But what if you met him and did not know he was your friend's ex? Like, what if you were at a art premiere and you meet this incredible guy and you start talking to him and y'all start dating and like, 3 months into dating, you're like, hey, I want you to meet my friends. And then you introduce him to your friends and you find out that he kind of dated a friend. Like, that's kind of more what this is than like you having friends and like knowing you went after their ex. Just say. 2, this girl's not your friend. This is like if you met a group of people all together, liked the guy, the girl was all right, and then you found out they dated. That's not your friend. It's not your friend. You need to pick. Who are you picking? Don't pick either one. Neither one of these people are good for your life. Move on. But this man, he starts getting all upset. You don't think this is hard for me? It's actually like happening more to me than to you. Well, actually, sir, you just said you had no feelings for her. So how is this so hard for you? If it is so hard, maybe you need to re-examine the statement that you're not into it anymore. And oh my God, again, this man, like it's worse for me than you. Your behavior is worse than mine. Like oh God, this dude is a flag and a half. I am not happy with this. And what's weird is I kind of really like Aaliyah and I want the best for her. And I don't think it's here. It's not here. It's not here. Let's go see what else goes on in this conversation. Oh, she just, by the way, dropped the bomb that she knows they banged 3 months ago. And he took a deep breath and sat up. And I don't even know. I'm like partially anticipating him to get real ugly because that's what he tends to do. But also when he's really pinned down, he kind of backpedals. So let's see. Backpedaled. Of course he backpedaled. I like this about Aaliyah. And maybe this could make them work because she tends to not roll over. Like he clearly is quite skilled with his arguments and he's pretty good at like pushing somebody to just roll over, but she doesn't. So when she pulled out the whole I know y'all F 3 months ago, his gears went, okay, hold on. I gotta switch it up. And he was much kinder about it. Now here's the thing. Maybe that'll work. But do you want to live like that? She keeps on saying, like, how do I know? How can I trust you? Word is, you can't. Here's the situation. You might be able to in the real world if you were slowly cultivating a relationship where you were building trust. But this is a condensed time. What is it, like 10 days in the pods? No. If you confront this big of a problem, chances are you're not working through it, not in this pod and not within the 30 days after that you have to get married. Like, let us be honest about the situation. Okay? That's all I'm trying to say. But, you know, she loves him. She's never felt like this. He feels the same. And she's going to stick it out. Look, if you're going to have even the hint of a possibility, you got to get rid of Lydia. She cannot. She's shark in the water the minute she smells blood. You need to be careful. I thought I wasn't going to have a lot to say about this scene, but actually I do. It's not so much about this scene. So, Lydia gets together with Milton and has to tell him the truth about Uche. Yeah, cat's out the bag. So, tells him the truth about Uche, and he is clearly like, whoa, kind of like taken aback. I'm wondering if he's playing all the conversations he's had with Uche about his partnership with Lydia. Because we've seen, too, where Uche's kind of like picking and trying to get information without disclosing that he's actually personally involved in the situation. Just saying. So Milton's kind of quiet. Lydia's going on the pick me tour. I love you. It doesn't matter. I cut things off with him. On and on and on and off. We'll say one thing. She references February, where in the conversations with Aaliyah, it was January the last time. But okay, whatever. There's some grayness to when that all ended, in my opinion, now. But Milton's very quiet. Doesn't have a lot to say. She's acting in a completely normal way for somebody who's trying to like cover things up, act like she doesn't care, convince him to pick her, right? That is not the big highlight for me in this moment. I haven't seen the part where she goes back in so they can have their conversation, but I want to say this, and I might regret it, you guys. I know you are further along than I am, but like I like Stacey in this moment. Stacey really pulls some shit out, and that is the thing when we are talking shit about these people, to remember that they are dynamic humans and that what is represented in our personal relationships doesn't always go across the board. Like a lot of us have a lot of relationship problems. We're perfectly functional in our day-to-day life and we can do really well for other people. But when we are personally involved, we tend to perpetuate the bad standards that we grew up in until we do the work to not do it. I'm just saying, Stacey, in this moment, I really like her. She comes with the like, he's in shock. Give him time. He deserves that. If there is really nothing there, you should be able to answer these questions. Girl, pick yourself up. Be brave. You know, it's all like she's really showing up. And I'm like, damn, Stacey, okay. If this is who you are, I actually think that's fantastic. And I think it spells even worse news for you and Izzy because you're way, way, way more evolved than he is. But sure, let's see who else can surprise us. They're about to go back into the pod, Milton and Lydia, and I have a feeling he's going to forgive her. He's going to be like, if that's true, whatever, you know. He shouldn't. People need to run. I'm sorry. I'm not digging on Lydia too much. I feel like, ooh, Lydia, maybe you need to take some more time for growth. That's all. That's all. To his credit, Milton is not as like, sure, okay, it's fine as I thought he might be. And so they kind of go into this whole conversation. I can't help but wonder if, because in my opinion, in the interactions we've seen between Milton and Uche, I don't think that Milton likes Uche too much. They're not the kind of guy who would hang out with each other. I don't think that Uche is somebody who he necessarily relates to. And so I feel like part of what might be throwing him off is that she is like, she dated this guy, right? Like that's kind of a, I don't know, like I don't see how we overlap in the people we choose to be around, right? 1. 2, I think the other thing that's throwing him off is that Lydia, who has not been this, I love you, I choose you, I want you, you're you, is all of a sudden turning all of that on. She is like love bombing hard to get through this difficult situation. And I think that he is in his gut feeling a little bit of discomfort there. And finally, in the conversation, he talks about how he has his own things he needs to work on. And she's like, yeah, we all do. And you recognizing those things is a good thing. That's a positive step. We all have to work on ourselves. Now, I did mention this when I first talked about him, which is that young people can often feel super grown and super old. And then they start to realize how much work they have to do. And that can get framed like, oh, you're so like immature and stuff. And I think the only reason Lydia's not going at it like from that angle right now is because she has her tail tucked between her legs and is trying to make him choose her. Interesting, really big neon lights go off though, because when he asked about when this all happened, she says, I met him in 2020 and that was a difficult year and he was there for me. And then 3 months ago, I decided to move on from him. First of all, I don't think she decided to move on from him. I think we all know that. He decided to move on from her. Put that on the side on the shelf. But like 3 months ago, was this filmed in early 2023? Like, I feel like it might have been. Maybe it was filmed in like 2022. I don't know. But like still, that's a couple of years there. That's years. That's not a couple. Like I kind of felt like maybe Uche implied or maybe even directly said it was only like 6 to 8 months. I don't know. Maybe I have to go replay these things. I told you guys, brain fog. But he definitely downplayed it. This is a couple of years of interaction, maybe not exclusively dating, but there was a lot more there than Uche is giving us. You just told Aaliyah that 2 years ago was not that long ago. Then we found out that you banged somebody in the pods 3 months ago. And on top of that, less than 2 years ago, you were in some sort of a situation or relationship with her. 2 years ago is not that long. Opinion on Stacey, I can't, like, she's prepping to meet Izzy. She's got a lot of makeup on. I hope that in this somewhere we get to see her without makeup because I'm just interested. I'm curious. But what I am going to say is that Stacey now strikes me as somebody who would be a phenomenal politician's wife. I think she is able and capable to get to her emotions, but she keeps them way down. And her like demeanor is a put together like woman. So I think she would be like great at being a politician's wife. Scandal hits and you are not going to see her flinch. Now, she might have a complete freak out once the doors close, The staff is not going to hear that. The people are not going to hear that. The only person who's going to hear that is her man. And then she's got to zip it back together and put on the brave face. So I am interested in Stacey. I am actually, like, when I tell you guys that, like, I really like the human nature side of reality shows, this is what I'm talking about. I am interested in Stacey now all of a sudden. I don't have a front running couple. I personally don't feel like any of these couples are on any kind of ground to keep going, but I think Stacey, actually I think my favorite person is Aaliyah, and my second favorite person might be Stacey right now. Oh my god. Stacey, who has now moved up as an individual on my ladder, meets Izzy. And unsurprisingly, he likes her. I knew that this would be a good physical match. We don't get to see their first kiss, which I feel like you can always kind of see a lot from the first kiss. But because we get an aerial view, but we do see them kissing a lot, and it seems to go well. Like, they kiss well. And if you don't know what I mean, like, you clearly haven't watched The Bachelor, there are some awkward ass kisses out there. Anyway, physically, I think Stacey could be attracted to him. And I definitely think he's attracted to her. They seem cute. They actually seem cuter in person than they ever did in the pods. I am not changing any of my opinions on them as a couple just yet. But I do think that he is excited to meet her. I think that his feelings for her are a lot more genuine now. I don't actually think they're feelings for her. I think he's in for a rude awakening when he realizes that she's a dynamic person with thoughts and opinions, all of her own, that do not expressively revolve around him. But they're looking forward to the to the trip to wherever they're going. She gets a big ring. Who pays for these rings? Who pays for the rings? I'm not Googling things because I was about to Google, but like, I am expressly not Googling things because I do not want to ruin the season for myself. So I am doing the hard work of staying away from spoilers and not Googling. But I am curious, like, does the show supplement the ring like on The Bachelor? Or these rings that they can afford? I don't know. Because Johnie was dropping stuff about his credit score and how he's not that, together. So that's a nice ring if he had to pay for it himself. I'm just saying. I don't even remember what he does for a living. Anyway, they're okay. We haven't gotten any kind of interviews separately to see like where Taylor like dropped the whole JP's teeth aren't what I'd go for. But they definitely seem to have physically hit it off way better than JP and Taylor. So, yay, I guess. After some trepidation, Milton asked her to marry him. Kind of. He was like, will you be my Puerto Rican wife? She was like, yes. I don't know. I would feel really, 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 really bad about this. Like, really bad, except that I don't know how 100% in Milton is. Like, he seems on the fence. He seems a little taken aback. He seems like he knows that the writing is on the wall. I hate that he's going against his gut. It looks like all over him, it looks like his gut is going, and he is doing it anyway. And, hopefully that means he won't be too broken apart when it all plays out. Oh, I don't feel good about this, guys. I do not. I feel a little bit sick to my stomach, and it's not because I had too much coffee. It's because of what's happening on my screen. Oh, you guys! Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god, I can barely breathe. Uche just went in there and I think he was going to ask her to marry him. He was. And she's not there. They just told Uche that Aaliyah decided not to continue with the experiment. I feel like I can't catch my breath. I might be too invested. What's happening right now? Woo! I feel lightheaded. I got to catch my breath. Oh my gosh. My heart is beating. I feel like my lungs and my heart are struggling to take up the same space. Okay, Stacey. No, y'all. Oh, I don't know what this means. Oh my god. Does this mean she's not coming to the parties? Is she leaving the experiment completely? What the fuck? Also, interestingly enough, according to what we just saw, Milton and Lydia are engaged. And I feel like had Aaliyah left the experiment early and given Uche time, he would have circled back to Lydia. So, oh my God. Oh my. Oh my. I hope she sticks to it. On the other hand, if she was going to try to give it a shot with him, I think a long game is like a long let us date, let us actually see this in the real world is really smart and really the best way it could have happened for them if she wants to continue to see him later on. But for now, hell yeah. She didn't even give that man a chance to like change her mind because he would have. I hope they show us like flashbacks, like what was Lydia doing when Aaliyah was packing? Oh my God. That's the end of this episode, and I hope that that means that Aaliyah has realized and recognizes how dangerous Uche can be when given the chance to manipulate with his words. So she didn't even give him a chance. I have taken about 30 seconds off camera to completely flip out and gather myself. I do not even know how to continue, but I will. Not immediately. I actually want to film a video about the Golden Bachelor because I think we get another one of those tonight if we didn't already get one this week. I know a lot of you are so much further in this season than I am, and I am just gobsmacked already. I am just gobsmacked already. Y'all. I can't even, and I'm so excited.